Yes.
Okay. Avoid legal snags by telling people they're being recorded. That's what just popped up on my screen. Can you imagine? I'm sure some CEOs gotten fucked because of Skype calls.
Oh, gotta be.
Gotta be.
Like, if you weren't paying attention, like, if you didn't tell me,
Yeah.
you could have just started recording. Like, if I had this phone in my pocket instead, that would have been crazy.
It's like spy tech. Remember when you were a kid and you would get like spy kits from the fucking dollar store?
Yeah, is this the cold open? Or are you just leaving this in?
Yeah, sure, why not? What's
Okay.
up, everybody? Welcome to Radiovania, episode number 71, your nerdy public radio for all things entertainment and pop culture. My name is Zach Rotello, at Zach Rotello on Twitter, and sitting a few hundred miles away from me. How many miles is it from here to Cuyahoga Valley?
Oh, like
It's like 160, right? 200?
Yeah, it's like 200 something.
Well, sitting over there in some chair in his place in Cuyahoga is John Swansong Parker.
Long have I waited, and now we're recording a podcast.
The Dead Speak.
Well, yes, yeah. The show has been dead, and now it speaks. It's back.
Yeah, this is a first show that we've recorded since, I believe, August of 2019. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay. Well, either way, it's been a long time. The last episode we did was our Once Upon a Time in Hollywood review.
So yeah, that would have been August.
Okay. So it's been a minute. We sincerely apologize that it's been so long since you've gotten a little dose of Zach and John in your ears, but we're back. There's just been a lot of stuff that's happened between August and now, which is January of 2020. Some stuff that we felt that it was about time that we, saddled up the old horses, put on a little Old Town Road, and, discussed what needs discussing. You know what I mean, John?
Yes.
So yeah, if you've never listened to an episode of the show before, it's going to be very simple. It's just John and I talk about, what we like to talk about, kind of just, hash out all the opinions, and, we might read a little news article here and there, discuss what's going on in old Hollywood land, all pop culture city. And so on the show today, we're going to be talking all sorts of Star Wars. That'll be the big topic of the show. Stick tuned toward the end for all of that. Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, Jedi Fallen Order, The Mandalorian, all of that goodness. But first, we're going to talk about a little Joker and a little Watchmen, because those came out in the time that we've been gone.
Yeah, two pretty big comic book based things that we both saw. We saw one of them together. We went and saw Joker together, but we never got the chance to review it on the show.
Yeah.
And they were both two things that I think I could probably strongly say that you and I both fairly enjoyed. So
I think so. Very strongly for one of them, strongly for another. But otherwise, it's been a heck of a winter season for, shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, kind of just back to back to back, a lot of stuff. I've caught up on a lot of movies in the last month or two, and I'm excited to air some stuff out with you. John, let's start it out with John. What have you been watching, playing, or doing recently? Let's do a little catch up.
So we finished Mandalorian and Watchmen probably about a couple weeks ago. I've been watching Mandalorian weekly, and then I binged Watchmen. I haven't been playing anything since I finished Fallen Order, except for Frogger at the arcade bars.
Nice.
Yeah. And then let's see, you already asked me about watching. That's about it. Yeah.
Well, it's been heavy.
It's been busy.
Like I said, yeah, it's been a busy season for both of us. But yeah, for me, I've caught up on a lot of, since, I work in retail. And so during the holiday season, I have zero free time to do any sort of, stuff that I like to do. So once the new year was, over, I picked up all the games that I had been wanting to catch up. So I finished Death Stranding, the new Hideo Kojima game. I finished Jedi Fallen Order, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And right now I am on level 5 or level 6 of Luigi's Mansion 3.
Do you like it?
I'm thoroughly enjoying it so far. It's very funny. Like,
yeah,
they stepped up the comedy chops for this one.
Good. I love Luigi's Mansion. It's a good time.
Yeah. It's very cute. And especially since I didn't play Dark Moon, so the last Luigi's Mansion game that I played was back on GameCube. So, as you can imagine, a noticeable jump in all-around visuals for that. It looks spectacular, like the cartoony style. It's very endearing. Like, after playing 2 very serious games with Death Stranding and Jedi, this was really nice to have, like, kind of just a more chill and relaxing thing.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, enjoying it very much. But
so
let's get into
what do you want to talk about first?
Well, I think it's smart. We can also sandwich this into the conversation. But the now Oscar-nominated Joker.
Yeah. Nominated for Best Picture, right? As well as a bunch of other things like director and actor and
yes,
probably like costumes and stuff and cinematography. Yeah. I think they said it like 11, so it's like that's pretty much the full gauntlet.
Yeah. Joker received the most nominations with 11, including Best Picture, Actor in a Leading Role, and Directing, which is kind of insane. Like, I expected it to, get into the conversation, but I didn't necessarily expect it to kind of sweep like this. Not sweep in terms of it winning, but it's in every single category, which is pretty nuts. Almost every category.
Yeah, no actress or supporting.
Yeah.
But all the things that the film can be nominated for and the director.
Right.
Yeah.
And not surprisingly, this has gotten a fair bit of divisive reactions online. A lot of people, Joker was one of those movies that I think was, a lot of critics really enjoyed it. A lot of critics didn't enjoy it, found it very derivative. And fan reactions were basically all around positive, or at least most fan reactions were positive. But the fact that it's now sweeping it's getting all these award nominations, like it's up against films like, I'm just going to read off a few of these, like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and The Irishman, the Martin Scorsese joint, Marriage Story, the serious acting drama. The Lighthouse is up in this, like 1917, like all these. It's in the same echelon as a lot of these more, I don't want to say well regarded, but definitely more critical darling films.
Right. Big win for Warner Brothers, though.
Yeah, seriously. Kind of a success story. I really hope that. I mean, I was lukewarm on that Birds of Prey trailer. I don't know how you felt about it. We didn't really. Have we talked about that yet?
No, I don't think so. I think I sent it to you.
Yeah.
It looks fine.
It looks fine. I was hoping that Joker would be like, they'd see that and be like, oh, okay, this is a direction that we can take. But Birds of Prey really does feel like a Suicide Squad 2, and I'm not really feeling that right now. I kind of wanted them to do a little bit more, like we talked about, character study stuff. I think would be interesting. But
hopefully we get that with the Batman.
We will see. Time will tell.
They're casting every villain in the Batman universe.
Yeah. It's going to be the long Halloween. I feel like it.
I think it's going to be Arkham Asylum.
I would be okay with that. I mean, as long as they don't spend too much time on each individual person, I feel like that's probably the safest bet for them.
Well, have you read the Arkham Asylum novel? Not play. I mean, I know you played the game, but the novel, Arkham Asylum.
No, I've only ever played the games, so I don't have much knowledge on the backstory there.
He's kind of working his way through the asylum, running into everybody. But you know how like the game, like the main villain is the Joker that you're trying to get to at the end. He's like the final boss. Right. The Joker is also one of the supporting people in the book. So like the main thing is just him surviving his own sanity while he's there.
Okay.
Yeah. So like you can have the Joker and Two-Face and Penguin and stuff like that, but none of them are like running. There's like no one main antagonist. You know what I mean? And the antagonist is the demons within, which should be kind of cool as a character based.
Yeah,
Batman
I
movie.
know. I like that concept quite a bit. It just is interesting to me because, you know, Matt Reeves has said that he wants to sign on. The rumor is that he signed on to make a new trilogy, and it seems like this is an interesting place to start.
Well, maybe he has to cast everyone in the trilogy now, and that's the news that we're getting.
Yeah, maybe. It just seems weird that they would do those casting calls. How early did Chris Nolan cast Ledger for Dark Knight?
I don't remember.
Well, it probably wasn't for Batman Begins. So,
No, that's a good
but
point.
we are in a different time.
He also didn't know he was going to make a trilogy for that, though. They weren't just handing out trilogies like they are now.
Yeah. But it was funny, like Warner Brothers made him put I think the story is that Christopher Nolan hated the fact that they made him put the card scene in at the end.
Yeah.
But they made him do that just to set up a sequel.
Right.
So.
I like that.
But anyway, Joker, directed by...
I'm the Joker, baby.
Do you want to know how I got these scars? Yeah, the best inside joke that never got to make the air of Radiovania waves, but that video is excellent. Go watch I'm the Joker, baby on YouTube. That's basically...
It's actually better than the Joker movie.
It should have been Oscar nominated, let's be real.
Yeah, for video shorts. No, so Joker...
directed by Todd Phillips, budget of $55 million, released on October 4th, 2019. Rated R and a running time of 2 hours and 2 minutes, and worldwide box office of 1 billion with a B, 1.69 billion.
69 billion. Nice.
Nice, Joker. Nice.
John,
what'd you think?
I like this movie. I think it's cool. One of the more interesting things about the Joker as a character throughout history has been that he is a unreliable narrator of his own story. Christopher Nolan kind of touches on this in The Dark Knight, where, you know, Heath Ledger's Joker is kind of telling different people how he got his scars. And that's kind of an interpretation of, you know, just how in the comics there have been multiple ways that he's kind of had an origin story. So like Alan Moore famously tackled it in The Killing Joke, and that's usually everyone's favorite. It's my favorite as well. However, that book also kind of stands alone, so that doesn't necessarily mean that any of these particular stories are canon, which I really like because Todd Phillips comes in. He's like, hey, I'm a big fan of Martin Scorsese. He's like, I want to make a crime drama set in the Gotham DC universe about Joker, but it's a little bit different because, you know, the thing about Arthur Fleck is that this Joker isn't necessarily a criminal mastermind. I was talking to my cousin Kaylee. I was like, if this Joker went up against any iteration of Batman, I think Batman would just absolutely wreck him. Like in an instant.
Yeah, 100%.
Like he is not necessarily scheming like Heath Ledger or Jack Nicholson or anything like that. If anything, he's just like pure cunning, you know, like he's like an otter. He's like really slippery. You can't really catch on to him or anything like that. But he just kind of bumbles his way through the movie and bad things happen to him. And then he does bad things. And, you know, it makes for a really good, interesting take on the character, which is really cool and refreshing that we can have stories like that. And I think the grittiness of it is what caused it to make so much money. People really like their dark comic book or raunchy comic book adaptations right now, like your Deadpools and your Logans and now your Joker and potentially Birds of Prey. We'll see how that goes, if that's more of a comedy-based thing, which it looks like it will be. That's also rated R. Did you see that?
That which one was rated R? Sorry,
Birds of Prey is going to be rated R.
Yeah, so I saw that they I think I saw that they announced that, but I didn't think too much of it because that trailer looks very PG-13. Like I said before, it looks like a sequel to Suicide Squad. Like it has that same
I think
vibe.
there's going to be like a lot of like F-bombs and stuff. You know what I mean? I bet you it'll be very violent and profound language, but
just let Ewan McGregor cuss up a storm.
I'm into it. Get some train spotting going. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Joker is an interesting bat. I think an interesting thing to talk about is the fact that, and full spoilers also, you've had time to see the movie, by the way, all those people out there in the spoiler world. This Joker is more like, it's like the setting up to be like a Kingpin sort of Joker. Like the whole ending scene in my viewing, like it just kind of, it shows that, he's gaining this legion of following, that maybe the Joker doesn't have to do all the dirty work himself. Like he's kind of more of an icon than an actual like criminal. Because at the very end of the movie, it's like this whole crowd of people that are just violently looting and raiding the entire streets of Gotham and murdering people. They're all wearing the clown masks, and they're all like looking up to this symbol for them of standing up to the big top cats, the people that are running the show. And so I don't think that this Joker fits really into, I mean, we don't know what Matt Reeves' Batman movie is really going to look like or feel like, but there's already rumors that they're doing a second Joker movie.
No. Leave it alone.
It made over $1 billion. I think that, Warner Brothers.
This is Warner Brothers' problem.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with like Aquaman made $1 billion, and they're like, let's make an Aquaman sequel and a series about the trench and a Julie Andrews movie, and you know what I mean? It's just like,
right.
Sometimes you capture lightning in a bottle. Just leave it.
Yeah.
This is one thing that I'm sure the sequel, if they work on it and Todd Phillips is doing it again, could be interesting. But until I actually see it, I'm against sequelizing this movie.
Yeah.
Because I think it ends in a way that's like, like full spoilers again, like it ends with the creation of Batman. Mm-hmm. And this Joker is like, I don't know, he's probably already like 40 years old. So by the time Bruce Wayne becomes Batman, that puts Joaquin Phoenix's Joker in his 60s. So if you do a sequel to this movie, you can't really base it on Batman, because I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense. Not to sound like an ageist or anything like that, but you can't have them really fighting in a physical matchup. So I don't really know.
Yeah, the rumor right now is that Hollywood Reporter has info that Phillips is in talk to reprise as a director, but they're unsure if Joaquin Phoenix will return. So they're not. I think that if they're doing a sequel to this, it might just be. I don't read this as necessarily like what happens next to Joaquin Phoenix's Joker character, but possibly they might just be like, this reads to me as a rumor of they want Todd Phillips to do another one of these Elseworld tales. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So what would
there's
you like to see?
Well, like we said on the phone a week or two ago when we were joking about it, I think there is room to do like a crime movie about Gotham, like a Falcone kind of deal. Like I think that could be interesting. Like, and also, separated enough from, these big budget, the Batmans and the Aquamans and everything. If you could do a smaller story but yet still involve the world of Gotham and the world of the DC universe, like I think that could play really well to Todd Phillips' strength. But I don't know. I think there's a lot. I think there's opportunity for these kind of movies to be successful, and it doesn't just have to be like one of the most iconic fictional characters of the Joker. Like I think you can entice audiences with a similarly toned story, but about a different character or a different time in Gotham City.
Cool.
But I don't know. What would you want to see?
I would want to see a detective noir-esque crime thing as well, involving the mob. But I want it to center around the GCPD. So maybe it picks up after Joker, but Bruce Wayne's still like a teenager. So this just kind of focuses on like a younger Commissioner Gordon and a younger like Harvey Bullock, and kind of like their it's like a buddy cop, but not like a buddy cop comedy. It's just like it's like American Gangster almost or something. That would be kind of.
Well, I was gonna say like something with it's a shame that TV show Gotham is like a thing,
Yeah, because that would be a slam dunk for a movie, but it's a little too close to the vest. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe people have already forgotten about that shit.
Do a Danny DeVito Penguin movie.
I'm in. I'm 100% in.
Yeah.
Just forgive me. Does he die at the end of Batman Returns?
Oh yeah, big time.
Okay.
In every Tim Burton Batman movie, like all the villains die. That was their problem. Is Bruce Wayne's a murderer in those?
Oh, Michael Keaton, the murderer. Well, maybe they could find a way to retcon Penguin's death and still have that, bring back Danny DeVito, because I think he's too old now to do like young Penguin.
Oh yeah.
Or you could do some digital de-aging. I
guess, like The Irishman.
Yeah.
But it's just called like Cobblepot.
Honestly, cool, if you could get super weird with that, I'd be down. But
he probably could.
Yeah.
Whatever DC movie he does next, if they're able to retain Todd Phillips, though, it'll probably have Bradley Cooper in it because those guys are buddies.
Mm.
Bradley Cooper was a producer for the Joker, so if he wins the Oscar, he's going to win. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Todd Phillips directed him in the Hangover movies.
Yep.
And that's where they met, and they became really good friends. And then Bradley brought him on as a producer for A Star Is Born, and he brought Bradley on as a producer for the Joker. So, Bradley
I don't
Cooper
know.
as Harvey Dent. Make it happen.
I could see it.
He'd be really good. He'd be really good. I don't know if
it's easy to get
Aaron Eckhart, but
Aaron Eckhart, man, what an actor that doesn't do a whole lot of anything. You know what
I mean?
I
don't care. He's really good as Harvey Dent.
He is a great Harvey Dent, but
yeah, that is like a how did he not get nominated as a supporting actor? And then you're like, oh wait, the Joker.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can only have one.
Not if you're the Irishman. You can have two.
That's true. Times they are changing though.
Or have you ever looked back? The Godfather had like 4 out of 5 supporting actors nominated.
So they were all like fighting them in the parking lot. They're like, "No, I'm gonna win. No, I'm gonna win."
Yeah, essentially.
But yeah, it's easy to get. Watchmen? Yeah, we got lost. We got lost there in the shuffle of like, because the Joker's been out for so long, so we've had a lot of time to digest it. So. This wasn't like a really like, had we reviewed this right after seeing it, we probably would have had more to say about the plot and the characters and what the movie has to say. But just to concisely wrap up my thoughts on the movie after having a few months to digest it and after seeing it for a second time, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I do think that, the criticisms of it being derivative are definitely apt because it does play off of a lot of classic, films like Taxi Driver and The King of Comedy. And I think that they paid homage in the right ways. And I don't think that they relied too heavily on them to where I wasn't invested in the story. My sentiment leaving Joker for the first time was I was like, they did something really unique with the story that I didn't expect where, Heath Ledger's Joker is the Joker that you love to hate because he's so anarchistic and crazy and funny in so many ways. But then Arthur Fleck as a character is incredibly depressing. And so it's like, you love to hate Heath Ledger's Joker, but Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, you hate that you love because you're like conflicted because he's doing these despicable things, but you're also kind of like empathizing for him. And I think the fact that they were able to pull that off is kind of a huge accomplishment for such a well-renowned and beloved character as the Joker is. So excellent film. I'm interested to see after the Oscars, which maybe we get back on now that we know how to do airwave shows, we can maybe do an Oscars cast because I'd be curious to see what the reaction is if that movie wins some of those high up awards.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot real quick.
Put me on the spot.
Rank your Jokers. Give me your top 5.
I still think that
in order.
I still think performance alone, Heath Ledger's Joker is just, that's like a time and a place. And I think that it's scratched an itch that I don't know if they'll ever manage to do again. Like, it was just the perfect culmination of actor, writing, directing, story. It was the perfect storm. And so I think that, you know, as much as I love Mark Hamill's Joker, who's a close second or third, although it's like, you know, personally, I like the films more than I didn't grow up watching all of BTOS like you did. So I just love Mark Hamill's Joker as a pop culture icon. But, you know, ranking alone, I'd go Heath Ledger, then Joaquin, and then probably, you know, I don't know, man. Heath Ledger, maybe then Mark Hamill because of the Arkham games also, and then I'd put, sadly to say it, Jack Torrance in the last place spot there.
Where's Leto?
Oh, fuck yeah. Him below that. Yeah. Him at the very last spot. Leto at last place, and then Jack Nicholson right above him.
Okay. I think I would go probably Mark Hamill, Heath Ledger, Joaquin, Jack Nicholson. A big old pile of shit, and then Jared Leto.
Speaking of Jared Leto, did you watch that dank-ass Morbius trailer?
That movie looks like dog shit.
Horse shit. Absolute horse shit. That movie's going to suck so hard, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a scene in that where they have a hallway shot where it's like the only action sequence in the entire trailer, and it's Jared Leto hopping between places like Nightcrawler and X2. Yeah. And it just looks terrible. Like, it looks like straight out of 2002.
The comments for that trailer on YouTube are pretty funny. You should take a dive on that later.
Have to go read this.
Yeah. They're like, it's like Sony, or it's like the production studio talking to Sony. It's like, how much blue do you want it tinted on all the shots? And it just says Sony. Yes.
Yes. My favorite part of the trailer was when it was from the studio that brought you Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Far From Home, and then Venom. And I was like, one of the three of those is right, and the other two are not right.
Yeah.
It's like, you may have been the studio, but holy cow.
Yep.
You are not responsible for Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
No.
Okay,
let's talk about something that doesn't suck. Joker. Yeah. I think so. Let's talk about Watchmen.
Watchmen. Yeah. Maybe the best television show of the last decade. Maybe.
They really finished out the 2010s with a good one.
Yeah. Watchmen divided up into how many episodes? It was 8 or 9? It was 8 episodes?
9.
It was 9 episodes, and the season finale reached a season high viewership of 1.6 million viewers, which was up 19% from the last episode before that, which is, it's interesting. This show hasn't been doing like spectacularly ratings wise, but it's like a critical darling. And quite, I would say, still fairly divisive amongst fans. Like, right now on Rotten Tomatoes, Watchmen sits at a 96% critic score and a 54% audience score, which is quite the disparity.
Right.
But yeah, John, what did you think of Watchmen? What's your review?
I really enjoy Watchmen. I think it's a fantastic show on its own as a television show, but I also think it's probably one of the best sequels of all time to be able to sequelize the Watchmen graphic novel.
Right.
I, unpopularly, potentially, do not really like the Zack Snyder movie. So this is the only type of other adaptation besides the graphic novel that I think I would really acknowledge. I think the Watchmen book is a perfect piece of American literature, or English literature, I should say. Sorry. And I think this television show is so groundbreaking in regards to storytelling and choices that they made, as well as like controversial things that they touched on, but they were still able to like weave in enough of the classic Watchmen, both characters and or like story bits and things to play off of, that it just, I don't know, it just was fantastic through and through. Right. Introduced some really great new characters as well. Yeah, I think it's pretty much a perfect television show. And the fact that, which you talked, about to me right before we started recording, the fact that this is the only season that we'll get of it means that through and through we can say that it was a perfect television show, unlike things like Game of Thrones and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's the big story. It actually just broke today, is that Lindelof has exited HBO's Watchmen definitively, is the wording that they decided to use. Said he has no interest in a second season, but he has given his HBO, quote, my blessing to continue on with someone else. So it sounds like HBO is just closing the book on this one for now. Obviously. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I can see a reality in which a second season is done well. It's hard because, like, as much as I think that, Watchmen as a TV series, a limited run series, is basically perfect, there's very few criticisms that I have for it. I think that, the fan inside of me really wants to see where else they can take the universe, because they did it so smartly. But my biggest thing about Watchmen is that I can't believe that they did it this well, because there are so many ways they could have messed this up. They could have. I mean, obviously there's always going to be fans out there that are upset, but it seems to me the majority of people that I've talked to that have watched the show that also really love the comic are very pleasantly surprised with the direction that they took legacy characters from the original comic book and also took these new characters, and messing around with people that messing around with characters and storylines that were, for all intents and purposes, already closed. Those chapters were already closed for those characters. Continuing their storylines is, so I think some people would call that sacrilege.
Right. And we'll talk about this a little later on, but like, that's kind of the thing that, like, Watchmen was able to do so well, to the point that it's pretty pleasing for all of those characters that they continue the story for, in ways that I think somehow Disney wasn't quite able to do as much for, like, their Star Wars characters. You know what I mean? Like, there's an argument to be made that potentially the stories of Leia, Luke, and Han should have just been left alone, in terms of how they're handled occasionally. But that's some people's opinion. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, when we get there. But just as for argument's sake, I think this one is pretty much like no complaints at all that I can see.
Yeah, I mean, like, I can see, there's a couple acting choices in the show that are not like 100% all the way there. But all the main characters, I think, are excellently played. I think Regina King, like, leads the show in such a spectacular fashion. Like, she was riveting to watch. Anytime she's on screen and giving dialogue, she's your guy, she's your gal. She's she's the bee's knees, and it's like, they weren't shy about letting her have just a plethora of awesome moments. And I can't remember exactly which episode it is, but An Extraordinary Being, or whatever that one's called, the episode that we both think is the best of the season. Yeah,
chapter 6.
Yeah. They let her participate in that episode in, like, a very subdued fashion, but even in the brief moments that she's on screen for that episode, is like, you're still, like, drawn to her character. And I think that's pretty compelling, given that she's a brand new character. Like, there's nothing about Sister Night in the Watchmen comics or any expanded universe, correct?
Okay.
At
least to my knowledge, but yeah. I've read that book a couple times, and I know, like, the one that is Hooded Justice, which they dive into, and the Minutemen and stuff like that, which is cool, and they dive into that in that episode.
Spoilers for Watchmen for the next few minutes, as we finish this wrap up of the discussion of the season. But the Watchmen TV series is kind of like a stealth sequel specifically about the legacy of Hooded Justice, who's a character that wasn't like super beloved in the original comic, but that they built on so that now people
well,
like
it's not that he wasn't beloved, he just didn't have anything to do in the comic,
right.
you know? So like the Watchmen graphic novel is about these characters who live in the 80s who are distant relatives or friends of the original Minutemen, which is supposed to be a parody of the Justice Society of America, which is a DC Comics property of superhero team that was created during World War II.
Right.
And that's who they are supposed to be. And then the Watchmen, who are the characters that we follow in the Watchmen book, are supposed to be like really fucked up versions of the Justice League, right? So like,
yeah,
Alan Moore's take is like, what if Superman took his godlike abilities to the next level? What would he be? He'd be Dr. Manhattan. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. So yeah, Hooded Justice is like a background player, and Damon Lindelof, we know, loves Easter eggs from his time on Lost and other shows like that, and seeing him pull that and flesh it out into its own season of television is really cool.
Yeah. And that's my, one of my favorite things about the season, and which is why I really got hooked from the first few episodes, is that I think that the show does a really good job of not treating its audience like babies. It doesn't really it doesn't explain everything. It kind of doles out its information over time. And I think that that's probably like very jarring for casual viewers, which is maybe why it's not getting fabulous ratings and maybe the audience score is particularly low. But not to say that the average viewers are idiots, but like I really enjoyed that the first episode kind of throws you into this world and doesn't like there's basically no ties to the Watchmen comic in that first episode. Like it's all introducing new characters, and then slowly over the course of the show, things start to become more connected. And I think that serves to the strength of the narrative so well, because, it's okay to not know everything. It's okay to be a little confused. Like you don't need to be given the answers to your questions right after another, like one after another. I think that, the fact that they trusted the audience to be along for this crazy, weird, sometimes very confusing ride is really a testament to the writing. And I think that they just knocked it out of the park in that respect. Yeah,
definitely. I think it's a good show. I think there's a lot of people that still haven't seen it yet.
Sure.
So I don't want to dive into all the spoilers, I think we've done a pretty good spoiler-free type stuff. So maybe we should leave it that way, but I would love to maybe even just have a whole episode where we can just go episode by episode and talk about it sometime.
Watchmen cast.
Yeah, dude.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Yeah, we're the big Lindelof fans over here, apparently. We have to do whole episodes on his stuff. So
Yeah. Shout out Lindelof. We'll get you on the show sometime.
Also,
if you finished watching Watchmen and you're hankering for a Damon Lindelof project again or something similar to it, I highly sure. You can go back and watch Lost, but I also recommend that y'all check out The Leftovers, HBO's The Leftovers. He directed and was the showrunner for the 3 seasons that it was on. Another one of those, like, it didn't get like fantastic ratings or viewings, but a really, really excellent show. And it's kind of like you can feel a lot of influence to what Damon Lindelof brought to Watchmen, but it's a lot more cerebral and dramatic. It's not necessarily as action-packed or intrigue. It's a lot of characters talking. It's a drama at heart, but it's a very well-made piece of television.
Cool.
And also Lost, I guess.
Yeah. For seasons 1 through 3. Yeah.
Yeah. Stop when they start doing time travel shit. Or you could watch a little bit for Lapidus or whatever his name is.
Actually, maybe stop after season 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta get some Lapidus in there. And Charles Faraday.
Hell yeah, dude.
His name is Daniel Faraday.
Faraday.
Everything happens for a reason.
They made him wear that. They made him wear that fucking bandage on his head for a whole season.
I know. It's, oh my goodness. What a character.
Yes. So now, is it time to switch over to Star Wars gear? Are there any other big pieces of info that you wanted to discuss? But
not until you
dive into Star Wars?
Until you catch up on Gideon Falls. Yeah.
Gideon Falls would be a good one. Tiny little blurb of news is that in the video game world, the biggest piece of news to happen in the last few weeks is that PlayStation officially announced that they're not participating at E3 again this year, second year in a row.
They're like, we're fine.
we out, brother.
Yeah, they're like, we're gonna start. I can only imagine it's gonna be a matter of time before they start something like D23.
Yeah, I mean, they had PSX. It was called PlayStation Experience.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't done that for the last few years either, but it's kind of a weird move. Like, I think that Sony's presence at game conferences was always like really like warmly invited because they always have really entertaining shows. And apparently one of the CEOs of PlayStation, or one of the directives over there, just tweeted out today, like, to all the people upset about us not being at E3, they're like, the PS5 reveal, like the official reveal, is happening in the next month. So
that's cool.
We can expect, I guess, what we can see what it looks like, what the price is, all that stuff. But it's definitely sad because I love E3, and not having Sony makes it a little bit sad for me.
Oh, you know what we didn't talk about? I don't think.
What's that?
I think since the last time we recorded a show, they dropped the story trailer for The Last of Us Part 2. The most anticipated thing of 2020.
Official trailer.
Yeah, dude. Joel'll be back.
Think I was going to let you go alone?
You think I was going to let you go alone? Yeah.
The thing is that at this
point... The sad thing
is
in a month we should have been playing this game.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. But nevertheless, May, right?
May.
Okay.
The worst time for a video game that I really want to play to come out is in the summer. So I'll have to make time. But very excited. We'll talk more about that at a later date, I'm sure. Because I can talk a whole show about that.
Yeah, I think a Last of Us cast will be in order come May. Like, once we both beat the game, we'll just do like a 2-hour long show.
Yeah, 4 hours.
A box of we'll get a box of tissues out.
For crying and coming.
Little known fact, that was going to be the name of our podcast before we decided on Radiovania.
It's more family friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is it time to put it into hyperdrive and go into Star Wars land?
Yeah, I think so. I was trying to think of another good segue with Emperor Palpatine, and I couldn't think of a quote off the top of the spot.
Ooh, I actually know what you could talk about for a second while I'm pulling up the box office and stuff for all the Star Wars stuff that's coming out these days.
Yeah.
Give us a little rundown of Star Wars theme park. What's it called?
Galaxy's Edge. Yeah. So I went to Galaxy's Edge over the Thanksgiving break with my family. Shout out to the Parker family. And it is really cool, man. It is a fun experience to go there. There's not a whole lot of rides. When we went, the Falcon was the only ride that was open. But since then, Rise of the Resistance has opened, so now there's 2. However, given the fact that it's a very popular place, waiting in line for those rides does take up a large portion of time.
And how long were you at the park?
We were at the park all day, but we did not stay in Galaxy's Edge all day. We went and rode Rock and Roller Coaster and went to the Toy Story section and stuff, and came back. So we staggered our activities. So we got there early in the morning, rode the Millennium Falcon, walked around at the shops and went to the cantina for a minute, but then we also had reservations for the cantina for later. So then we did that, and then around lunchtime we went and did some of the other rides. And then about mid-afternoon point, we came back, and I did the lightsaber building experience, which is amazing, as well as the droid building experience. And then we ended our day doing single rider for the Falcon, which was a little bit shorter of a line, and then going to the cantina again, and then heading home. Right. It's interesting having it set between episodes 8 and 9, so we'll see narrative-wise how the park evolves after Rise of Skywalker. But that being said, having it set in that one time frame, if you're in that frame of mind while you're there, it's really cool to see Kylo Ren and Rey and Chewbacca walking around, and just seeing the Falcon in a life-size model is really cool. Which, as in parts of pop culture fans, like unless we worked on those movies, we probably wouldn't see a life-size diorama as good as this one. So,
right,
really cool. 2 thumbs up. It's a good time.
Yeah,
but prepare to stand around waiting lines. It gets busy.
Well, at least, that's something that Disney parks, excel at in my, from what I hear is that, even when you're waiting in line, you still have cool stuff to look at. So
this is true.
You feel like you're in like a different world. So that's part of the experience is, being in that space and seeing the architecture, seeing all the work that they've put in.
Yeah. And like the thing that's cool is like, unlike Harry Potter World, where they play all the John Williams music, at Star Wars World, they actually don't. At Galaxy's Edge, they want it to be so immersive that it sounds like you're at a spaceport. So instead, there's just like all this like white noise going on around with like ships flying overhead and like maybe like people hustling and bustling and speeders and all that kind of stuff. And it's cool. It's very cool.
Right. All right. Well, I'm excited to visit Galaxy's Edge, but in the meantime, John, we've got so much Star Wars to be entertained at your home and at your theater, at your local cinema, and now on your streaming services with Disney+. So my question to you is, we got 3 things to talk about. Episode 9, Fallen Order, and Mandalorian. And which one do you want to start with first?
Let's do The Mandalorian first.
Okay. So let's The Mandalorian.
Let's end with episode 9. Does that sound good?
All right. Yeah, sounds good to me. The Mandalorian. Season 1, they
greenlit a season 2.
Game of Thrones. Yeah, they already greenlit a season 2.
They greenlit season 2 before season 1 even came out. So,
it was the Hallmark flagship, whatever you want to call it, TV series for Disney+, Disney's first streaming service, which is raising stock prices like a flagpole. Sitting at a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes right now with a 93% audience score for the entire season 1. It has how many episodes? 8 episodes? Yeah.
Yep.
Hit me with that, John. What did you think of the Disney
Baby
Star Wars
Yoda?
I can't even get it out.
Baby Yoda, dude.
Yeah. Hashtag Giddle.
Talk about the greatest kept secret of all time. So all in all, I really enjoyed the show. I think it's a fun season of television. The episodes aren't very long. They're about half an hour. However, I think, a majority of the season has a really cool storyline. It's very simple. It's, it's like Lone Wolf and Cub, like The Last of Us, like Logan. It's some type of grizzled figure taking care of something younger who is innocent and not part of the world, and having to experience that together.
Right.
And then you have 3 episodes in the middle that are just complete like video game side quests that don't really connect to the overall story, which I would say those are the weakest parts of the show for me. I think there's 5 pretty good episodes of this season, and then like 3 kind of like okay episodes. The Mandalorian himself, as the titular character, is pretty cool for a Boba Fett ripoff. That it seemed like, I don't know, it seems like Jon Favreau wanted to make a Boba Fett show and they told him he couldn't. So he's like, fine, I'll make somebody who looks like Boba Fett. And I would say like standout characters for me are a lot of the supporting characters. I think Baby Yoda is really cool, but I really enjoy IG-11. I really enjoy Nick Nolte's Queel, the Ugnaught, but mostly just because I like Nick Nolte. And Gina Carano's character is really cool, Cara Dune. But I really like the villain, even though we haven't gotten a whole lot of him. I'm looking forward to where the future goes with Giancarlo Esposito from Breaking Bad, because that dude could stand there and say nothing, and he's very, very scary.
Yeah, just an intimidating figure. They cast a really good...
Seeing him standing there in an Imperial uniform was like terrifying. So
yeah, for sure.
Really cool action set pieces. They just tried to do, like a quick adventure of the week, like fun stuff each time, which I respected. I think this is probably one of the Star Wars properties that almost everyone agrees on since The Force Awakens almost.
Right.
Probably since Return of the Jedi, if we're being really honest, though. Yeah, I don't know. I liked it. It's not the greatest television show I've ever seen, but it's a really cool part of Star Wars lore now, and I think it's probably one of the better properties that they've done with storytelling for Star Wars. So, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm a little bit more down on it than you are, and that it seems to be I'm a little bit more on the downside than most people on the internet. I wholeheartedly would not give this a 95. Like if we're on the Radiovania patented 20-point
Give it
scale,
like an 8.
I would settle somewhere in the 7, maybe dipping into the 6 area, because I think that the show is just the biggest problem with the show is that it's just wildly inconsistent.
It's very inconsistent, and also, no, I'll let you finish. Go ahead. I was
going to say
complaint.
Right. Almost each episode of the show is directed by somebody different. They only had a couple ones that are like the same person. Like they had the woman director that's going to be doing the Obi-Wan film, and then they had Taika Waititi do 2 episodes of the show.
No, he only did one.
He only did one? I thought he came back for the redemption.
No, so they did they had, let me add this up real quick. They had 5 total directors, and 3 of them directed 2 episodes. Gotcha. Dave Filoni directed the first one and the Tatooine episode. Rick Famuyiwa directed the second one and the heist episode. Deborah Trow directed the 2 episodes that I liked the most, which are The Sin and Chapter 7, which name escapes me. And then Bryce Dallas Howard did the farming episode, the one-off with the ATST, and Taika did the finale.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so it's like, as much as I like, in a lot of shows like Game of Thrones or like Breaking Bad, they would give multiple episodes in a season to different creative visions to direct the episodes, but they all maintained a consistent tone. And that's my biggest problem with The Mandalorian, is that the tone is just all over the place. I don't know what it wants to be. Like sometimes it wants to be like a really dark, gritty bounty hunting movie. Other times it wants to be like the Lone Wolf and Cub, very sentimental story. Sometimes it wants to be, like you said, a video game side quest movie where there's a prison block breakout. A heist movie is in there somewhere. Like a nature preserve documentary is in there at some point, I think. And then there's the general theme of Star Wars sprinkled throughout. And, I will agree with you. I think that the show starts really strongly and ends really strongly. But
the middle is, I think I definitely agree with you that the middle chapters are the most unwatchable parts of the show, and least rewatchable.
Yeah, the thing is,
you could probably skip them if you wanted to.
That was what I was going to say, is that for most shows, like there are, I'm trying to think, like Breaking Bad is one of my favorite shows of all time, but there are a few episodes and a few seasons where, they're not like the hottest things ever. Like they're probably like a 70%, while the rest of the show maintains that consistent 90. But in The Mandalorian's case, I honest to God think that if I was going to recommend the show to like my mom, who likes Star Wars but also doesn't watch every Star Wars thing, I would say watch 1, 2, and 3, and then skip to 7 and watch Chapter 7 and Chapter 8. Because not only do 4, 5, and 6 are they just like a little bit less exciting and engaging, they don't progress the main plot of the story at all. And so that really hurt them for me. Like they didn't have any sort of, other than the introduction of Kara, is that her name? Kara?
Yeah, I think the only ones you can actually skip would be 5 and 6. I think you can skip Tatooine and you can skip the heist one. But I think you have to watch the Sanctuary, because that's where you meet Cara Dune, and it's also the most horniest episode of television I've ever seen. the sexual tension between Mando and Omera, or whatever her name is.
I think that I disagree. I don't think that I like Gina Carano or whatever. I liked her character okay enough in the last 2 episodes, but like they give you her introduction again in chapter 7 when they go back to that same fucking bar. You know what I mean?
That's true. She gets like the Raiders of the Lost Ark Marion introduction. Like twice.
And so I think you watch the first 10 minutes of chapter 4 until you get to Baby Yoda drinking soup, just so you can get the meme and then skip.
Yeah, dude. Great meme.
But here's the thing, and I read this online, so I can't take credit for it, but this is what I was thinking the entirety of the show, is that I watched it with my girlfriend Carly, and she enjoyed it too, about as much as I did. Like, I think she shared a lot of the same criticisms that I did with the show. But I read online, someone said something incredibly apt, where they said, there's 2 shows happening while I'm watching The Mandalorian. The show number 1 is The Mandalorian. It's a gritty samurai Western thing about this bounty hunter. And then there's show B, and it's the Baby Yoda show. And the Mandalorian part of the show is okay at best. It's got some interesting action and some cool scenery and, you know, set design and stuff. But then the Baby Yoda show is 10 out of 10, Oscar worthy. Give it all the Emmys that you want. Like, I could watch a supercut of all of Baby Yoda's stuff, and arguably better than the entire show on a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Just the fact that puppet looks so good and so real, and the way that they were able to make it emote, I think that's the star of this show, is that they created maybe the most lovable Star Wars character of all time now.
He's up there. He's definitely up there. The past couple years have been like, what can Star Wars out cute itself? You know what I mean? So it's like let's go from BB-8 to the Porgs to freaking Baby Yoda, and then Babu Frick, and then BD-1, and it's like all this stuff is like piling on each other. It's too much. It's too much to handle.
The difference is that with Mandalorian, they didn't create merch for it right out the gate to keep this like secret, or at least my theory is that I don't know if they knew exactly what they had in terms of like popular culture.
Mm-hmm.
But every episode, a new Baby Yoda meme surfaced. Like, there was a new meme for each episode, and I was like, can they keep doing this? And they were able to do it all the way up until the end. And to me, I'm just so excited to see how they use that character in the second season, and I so hope to God that more of the plot and more of the show is dedicated. Like, I hope they learn some lessons from this first season, and that they could use a little trimming around the fat. Like, maybe we don't need to be an 8-episode season. Like, I would have been fine with 5 or 6 episodes that are just a little bit longer, that are a little bit more concise and focused on a specific plot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think that would have been much more enjoyable for me. But overall, I didn't regret watching it. I think if you're a Star Wars fan, it's a must watch. But I had a couple problems.
Let me ask you this. We're going to do quick spoiler territory for like the next minute.
Spoilers.
In the last episode, the person who makes the armor tells Mando that his quest is to now find Baby Yoda's home and get him back to his own kind.
Right.
Is that how the show ends? Because I don't know if the show can continue after Baby Yoda isn't part of it. Right.
I agree 100%.
So it's the same with The Last of Us. Like, the show should be about the relationship of those 2 characters. So I think that's got to be the series arc, right? Not the story of season 2.
Yeah, I think the biggest question to me is, what is their vision for this show, like, going forward? I think that, and we'll talk about this with Rise of Skywalker, but a big problem that people have with the sequel trilogy is that there wasn't like a vision, like a plan set in place in the very beginning for where it's going to go. But I get the sense that Favreau and the creative team that sat down to storyboard the first season had an idea of where they maybe want the show to end eventually. And so, God, I hope that this is like, if it doesn't end after season 2, I really hope it ends after maybe season 3, because I just don't know how long you can drag this out without coming to some sort of grand conclusion for these characters.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, I do think that Mando and Baby Yoda are intrinsically tied to this show's success. Like that's the hook. Like the hook is much like The Last of Us and much like Logan. The hook here is old wise gunslinger protects young baby of great importance. And I think that once that storyline is wrapped up, I'm checking out after that. Yeah. Personally, that's how I feel. But what about you?
I think you're right. I don't know if I would consider Mando wise, though. That's my only complaint.
Sure.
I think he's an idiot
in some parts.
I think he's a freaking idiot. Like, if I need a guy in a fire, if I need a guy in a firefight, I'll take Mando because like he kicks ass when he fights people. But the problem is he keeps putting himself in these stupid situations where he's risking his life and Baby Yoda's life, more importantly, unnecessarily. And here are a couple things that Mando, if you're listening, please do this in season 2. All right. Recommendation number 1, stop leaving the fucking ship open. You leave the ramp down wherever you go, and average Joe Schmo just walks in and then pulls a blaster on you, or the Jawas come and steal all your parts because you left it unlocked.
Right.
Get some defense measures, or at least like an alarm or something for it. Recommendation number 2, stop talking to your old contacts from when you were a murderer, because they probably don't like you anymore.
Probably still murderers.
Yeah, pretty much just stop walking into traps. Like, it's pretty obvious that when Grief Karga invites you back after you shot him in the chest, that he's probably going to try and double cross you. It worked out all right for you, I guess, but come on, dude. Like, you got to be smarter than this.
Every time he left Baby Yoda on the ship, like either me or Carly or a combination of both of us were like, why'd you leave him on the ship?
Which he does in chapters 5 and 6, and that's why those chapters suck. He's just like, I gotta go do my own adventure. I'm gonna leave you here with a random person. In chapter 5, it's that annoying lady on Tatooine, and then in chapter 6, it's the evil killing droid again. I don't know. That's what I would recommend to you, Mando. Take a page out of a good old textbook. Use your head. Yeah, we'll see. Right? Quit thinking with your blaster and your penis. Use your head.
That's good.
And on that note, let's talk about Fallen Order.
All right. Well, we don't have to spend too much time on Fallen Order. But I rolled credits last night. After about relatively brisk, maybe 18 hours, 15 to 18 hours of gameplay. I couldn't find like a game clock in the actual game.
So it's a kind of short game.
Yeah, it's definitely on the shorter end of the spectrum, which isn't a problem because there's a lot of side quests and backtracking and a lot of, collectibles to find if you're into that sort of thing. So, by the time that I was finished with the entire game, I was, I'm on the holodeck and I looked at each one of the planets and it was like 70% complete, 60% complete, 80% complete. And I was like, wow, there's still like quite a bit of game left here if I wanted to, dive in and find it. So
yeah, I actually just loaned my copy to my friend that I play X-Wing with. So I'm not going to be able to go and platinum it for a little bit, but
are you going to go for the plat?
Maybe. I don't know. That Jedi Master difficulty seems like it'd be really hard. Right. I thought the game on normal difficulty was challenging enough. It's a lot more combat heavy than I thought it was going to be, which is fine. It is nice. I like games that challenge me,
Yeah.
But I also like Uncharted and The Last of Us, and those don't challenge me anymore. So,
it through and through. It's a Dark Souls Bloodborne type game. Mm-hmm. Like that's what it is at the heart of it. And so, yeah, I was expecting the difficulty to be there, but there were a few segments that really did give me a fair bit of trouble that I was not expecting. I still think that Bloodborne is a harder game. Like all the Souls games I've played are harder.
Sure.
But
yeah, well, there's significantly less boss fights in this game compared to that. Yeah, dude, we could talk about story in a little bit. In terms of gameplay, I think the combat system is so fun, and it's fun to like mix Dark Souls and God of War, but with a Star Wars skin on it. I dug that quite a bit. I think that the Uncharted puzzle solving type aspect was really cool with the Force. as well as just how it looked. I think it looked really cool. I think having a next gen Star Wars game on this console that's story based is really cool to finally have.
Yeah. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed the gameplay. It felt you felt like you were using your lightsaber adequately. Like you didn't feel like all the force powers worked really well. It didn't feel clunky at all. It felt very smooth. You feel like a Jedi. I mean, it sounds cliche to say it, but it's like you really do feel like you're using all these powers and chaining them all together in the right ways. When you take down someone and you've done all the right things, you feel like a kind of a badass. And I love the.
I feel like a badass
stuff
when I push people off of the cliff with the Force. It's awesome.
I love that there's a trophy for that too. If you push like 40 or 50 people off, you get a trophy.
Love it.
But yeah, story stuff we'll talk about in just a sec. But my favorite part about the game, honestly, if I had to give like one specific favorite thing, is the design of the planets. It takes you to a lot of places that we've never been. The only one that we've been to recently has been like Kashyyyk.
Yeah, they go to Dathomir in the Clone Wars show.
Oh, really?
Yep.
But yeah,
that's where Darth Maul is from.
Oh, well, that makes sense with all of the Darth Maul looking motherfuckers in the cave.
There you go. Look at you.
But yeah, no, I just loved how everything was designed, like how everything looked. Like there's crashed starfighters everywhere, and like everything looks kind of like run down, and it's just very pretty. It's a very pretty game, and the little touches that they made to the world. Like there were a lot of moments where I would just stop and look around and be like, wow, this looks really, really good. I like the way each planet feels unique. There's very little recycled environment stuff, and I think that a lot of attention to detail was put into the environment stuff. And so
what was your favorite planet to visit?
Oh boy, oh yikes. What is the one where at the very end of the planet you slide down an ice thing and you get to like a crashed Star Destroyer?
Zepho.
Well, Zepho. Yeah. I really enjoyed Zepho. I thought that planet looked very pretty.
It's like windy as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I like Zepho. That's probably my favorite. It was cool to go to Kashyyyk though. It was really cool.
Kashyyyk was cool.
Yeah.
It just looked really gross though.
Well, I mean, it's war, like the Clone Wars and the Galactic Civil War have destroyed its environment. So
right.
Yeah, it's kind of sad to see, but I really enjoyed being on Kashyyyk, both for the aspect of, returning right after the Clone Wars and seeing all those cool Easter eggs, as well as running into a character that I really enjoy that we'll talk about.
Save the rebellion!
You spoiled it.
Nah, that was in a trailer before the game came out.
It was?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I didn't see the trailer with him in it. So when he shows up on your AT-AT, I was like, I lost my mind. I was like, Bullshit! Lies! Deception!
Yeah.
Bullshit will know the truth.
Well, I don't know how much you want to dive into the story here on
I just want to see if you liked it.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think the game is really excellent. I think still my favorite game I played my favorite game that came out in 2019 that I played was probably Death Stranding. Mm-hmm. And I think it was interesting playing these two games back to back because Death Stranding is all about a really intricate story. And as I thought that Fallen Order had a really, really compelling narrative, I felt like the climax was a little weak in Fallen Order.
Really?
Well,
did you know he was going to show up?
I didn't know that he was going to show up.
Okay, because I didn't either, and I thought that was amazing.
I did think it was cool, but like I felt like
spoilers from here on out. Let's just talk about it.
Yeah, spoilers from here on out. I felt like I liked what was happening, but I like when the credits came up, I was like, that's it. I was like, I thought we were gonna like keep going. Like there's like the whole plot device of the game is destroyed in the very last cutscene, and I was like, so what the fuck were we doing?
They can
on this
sequelize
planet?
it.
Like,
That's their plan.
yeah, no, I'm fine with them sequelizing it, but I just felt like because of the way that it also, the game ends, and then after you roll the credits, it takes you back to before the events of the game, so you can't go back to the Star Destroyer planet and like face the thing again, like unless you start a new game. And it just felt like it was just anticlimactic in my opinion. Like I thought that it was badass. Like I loved the fight with the second sister, and I thought that Seer's intervention was really cool, and obviously the Darth Vader moment was really standout, and I didn't see it coming. But just as a story of this Jedi outcast basically that's trying to like rebuild this order, I felt like they just didn't follow through with that premise at all. Mm-hmm. And I know that they're setting this up to be a sequelized game, but I was really hoping for more of a conclusion. Like, I don't know. That's just personally, that's how I felt about the game. But overall, man, like I just had so much fun playing it. And I think that, you know, so many of the side characters are so excellently written. Like I loved Grease. I loved Seer. Yeah. I thought that I can't remember her name, but the witch girl I think was kick ass.
Yeah, it was like Marin or something like that.
Something like that. But
yeah, the Night Sister.
Yeah. I really liked all the side characters. I liked, you know, building your lightsaber. To me, the standout moment was when you get the double-bladed lightsaber. Like that was the climax for
that
me.
Part's really cool. My favorite part of the game is when you are on Ilum and you have to go find a new lightsaber crystal because yours is broken, or I can't remember how exactly it happened. But yeah. My favorite part of the game is when you find out that that like BD had his memory wiped, you know what I mean, in order to keep the secret and stuff like that. And that whole thing I thought was really emotional because I really enjoyed the relationship between Cal and BD1. And then right after that is when you pick your new lightsaber crystal, even though you get all of them.
Yeah.
That part was dope.
I
think that's the emotional nail in the coffin for me in that part. I think the Darth Vader thing at the end is dope. I had no idea it was coming, and when you hear that breath behind the second sister, I was like, oh shit, like this is about to get really bad. I thought everyone was going to die, and it was going to end like Rogue One. So I was kind of surprised that everyone lived by the end, with the exception of the second sister.
Yeah,
R.I.P.
I mean, the funny thing about this game is, and this universe and as a whole, like the Fallen Order universe they're setting up, is that eventually, because this takes place between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, right?
Yeah, this is only like 5 years after Revenge of the Sith.
Right. So eventually we're going to get to a place where these characters can't exist in our current canon. So like, I don't know. That's a nitpick that I don't really, I understand why that has to, you know, you can't change the past. You can't change the future. You can't change, like, there's no, unfortunately for Rise of Skywalker, there's no time travel in Star Wars. And so at some point Cal has to die because he can't interact with, you know, Luke and the other Jedi and stuff.
Or can he?
Unless, or what?
Or can he?
Or can he? I guess that's, you know.
What if Fallen Order, the series, can span over the course of the original trilogy concurrently, where they are exploring the unknown reaches of the galaxy and are not part of the Rebel Alliance. And then we get a final Fallen Order game that has Cal and Luke hanging out post Return of the Jedi, trying to plot out the new order.
Yeah.
And then he gets killed by freaking Kylo Ren or something.
I don't know. I think that's the exciting thing to me, is that even though I felt like the actual plot narrative, the narrative of the game and the way that it concludes was a little anticlimactic, but I get that it's setting up for a sequel, which we can expect in a few years, 3 or 4 years. But it's, you know, I think that they're going to try and make an effort to distance themselves a little bit from our Holy Trinity, right? Like, I think it's going to be.
I'm cool with that.
I think it's going to be a lot
Darth Vader at some point, though.
That was the other thing too. Is I was really hoping to continue fighting Vader, but it really doesn't let you. Like, you kind of fight him for a little bit, and yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he wrecks you. I turned around a couple times to try and see if I could fight him, and I died a lot.
Yeah. I was really hoping that you would get to at least fight him for a while before BD does the whole like short circuit him or whatever, but I get why they didn't. Like, he's the most powerful Jedi in the galaxy, so it makes sense that you know. But yeah, all in all, a solid game. I think if you're a Star Wars fan, this is a must play. It's the best Star Wars video game I think ever made. In my opinion, I think that
I agree.
What it does story-wise, what it does character-wise, gameplay-wise, it's just very fresh. It feels very Star Wars, and also in a very un-EA move. There's no microtransactions. There's no loot boxes or loot crates. Yeah. So in fact, I don't know if you saw this, but I think it was yesterday or the day before. EA they pushed out an update for the game that you can download right now on your console or platform of choice that unlocks all the pre-order bonuses for free for all people that have the game.
Wow.
So it comes with like a color lightsaber that's new, a skin for BD, a skin for the Mantis, a couple lightsaber hilts and stuff like that, and you can just get them for free.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah,
go play Fallen Order.
2 thumbs way up. Go play Fallen Order.
Yeah, good time. All right.
The creme de la creamy.
Let's do this. Let's take one last look
at my
Star
friend
Wars for the day.
Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, released on December 18th, 2019. Rated PG-13 at a running time of 2 hours and 22 minutes. A production budget that is unknown at the current time. They haven't released
$500 million. Gotta be. It's gotta be. This movie is expensive.
Definitely expensive, but the highest they
had to afford a huge crane to suspend somebody in the air.
I think the highest budgeted movie of all time is still Avatar, and even that was only $380 million. So I would assume that this clocks in around there, maybe a little less. I mean, Avengers Endgame was like 370 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you don't have to pay all these huge name actors for Rise of Skywalker, which is a lot of the times where your budget goes.
I don't know. They had to pay Harrison Ford again. So
yeah, sure.
That's not cheap.
No, not cheap at all. But yeah, so domestic 482 million, international 519 million, for a total worldwide gross so far of 1,002,269,000.
Okay.
It was it officially crossed the $1 billion mark as of January 15th. It's interesting, though, I'm reading this from Variety. It took significantly longer to reach that milestone than previous Star Wars installments. Rise of Skywalker from J.J. Abrams passed the milestone in 28 days. By comparison, it took Abrams' The Force Awakens 12 days and Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi 19 days. It's also the first Star Wars film ever, if I'm not mistaken, that didn't receive an A rating cinema score from moviegoers, which is a service I don't typically use, but is still interesting to look at now and then. Yeah. The Rise of Skywalker, the end of the saga, as they were marketing it as, came out to a very, very divisive reaction from most people. Right now it's on Rotten Tomatoes as a 52% critic recommendation and an 86% audience recommendation. And we saw it. I've seen it twice now.
I've also seen it twice.
Okay. What did you think, John, now that we've had time to dissect and digest?
I still haven't had enough time, I think, to be able to speak about this as like as like a definitive conversation about it, you know, because like we can talk about the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy pretty definitively because we've had decades with those movies. But right now in this Disney era, I kind of, after the Rise of Skywalker, I'm kind of lost in the weeds a little bit on like where I stand on it as a whole and like I don't hate it. I think they're better than the prequel movies, a majority of all the Disney movies, if not all of them. However, I was really hoping that this one would unite the fan base, and it didn't, and that's kind of got me down. Because it also initially was disappointing for me the night that we saw it, and then it sunk in a little more, and then I realized that I was overreacting about a lot of things, and then I saw it again, and some of those things didn't quite bother me as much, but there are some plot holes that I think are pretty jarring in this movie. However, it's a very fun action movie. It's definitely not as bad as the critics are saying that it is. I think critics are extremely harsh on this in the same way that I think some fans were extremely harsh on The Last Jedi.
Right. I think something interesting to remember, and I know that you and I talk about this pretty frequently, but, a lot of people these days, a lot of, casual people or people that are into movies will use Rotten Tomatoes as a barometer, litmus test, right, as to what they want, like to how good a movie is. And we have to remember that a 52% tomato score is not 52% bad. It's 52% of people that saw it recommend it. And when you think about it that way, it's like half and half. Half of the critics don't recommend it. Half of the critics recommend it. And I think that, oftentimes a movie that has a more when there's a disparity between the critic score, the user score, and a disparity between what the review is for critics, a lot of times I rub my hands together and go, oh boy, this could go one of two ways. I could really hate it, or I could be really into it, because I feel like I fall in line with some critics, but not others. And, you obviously form your own opinions about Star Wars and about, fiction and nonfiction in general. But I don't know. This is such an interesting movie to discuss, because there's so many different aspects of the film that are, I think it has a lot of highs, and I think that it definitely has a lot of lows. To me, I think it's far and away more entertaining than, in terms of just the sequel trilogy, I think it's far and away more entertaining for me to watch than Last Jedi. Mm-hmm. I still think that The Force Awakens takes the cake in terms of blending nostalgia with excitement and new storytelling. Leans pretty heavily on homages from A New Hope, but I think that the way that movie is paced is just so flawless, and I think that the pacing of The Rise of Skywalker is its biggest detriment.
I would agree.
If I had to put this on the patented Radiovania 20-point scale, I would sit somewhere at an 8, maybe an 8.5 for me for Rise of Skywalker.
I think I would give it a 7.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's still a good movie. I think I really want to see the documentary about how the sequel trilogy was made. I really want to see it, because I bet you that thing is really interesting. I guarantee you that there is a completely, and if the world existed as a multiverse, like in DC Comics, on Earth 2, I bet you their Star Wars sequel trilogy is way different. Way different. And I don't know. There are some things about this movie that I think are really cool, really fun. And then there are things about this movie that I was like, really, that's the thing that you came up with when you had all of these story executives in a room, right, being like, we have to unite the fan base, and this is how it's going to happen. It's like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a couple of the elephants in the room.
Yeah.
And you and I can let's just do thumbs up, thumbs down on whether it works for us personally. Okay. Does that sound good? All right.
Yeah. I'm excited to see where you're going with this.
Yeah. All right. First thing, thumbs up, thumbs down. Rey being Emperor Palpatine's granddaughter.
First time I saw it, thumb to the sideways.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little indifferent.
Avoiding the question.
I don't think it's bad. I think it's an interesting choice. I think it makes sense given the aspect of this movie that, again, we'll talk about here in a sec, that edited, the pacing of the movie kind of dampens a little bit, is the question of Rey goes from feeling like in 7 she has this grand purpose to an 8 realizing that she doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, and then to episode 9 where she finds out that she is related to a powerful figure and is intrinsically tied to the Force, but it's also like realizing that your grandfather was Hitler. And so she has this interesting moral dilemma of, do I embrace the heritage, the bloodline that's inside of me, or can I build something better? And so the first time I saw it, thumb to the sideways, I was like, this is fine. This is interesting, I guess. But the second time I saw it, I'm going to give it a thumbs up because I like the payoff very much. Like, especially the second time, like the second time seeing the movie, the whole ending of, calling out to the Jedi and, who are you and all that stuff. I found that much more satisfying the second time after I had a little bit of time to digest.
Okay.
What about you?
I also like the climax, but I'm thumbs down on making her related to Palpatine, I think, overall. Right. It just felt kind of cheap to me, to be honest with you. It felt like they had to come up with the reason for him to be there. And I would have been totally fine with him coming back from the dead and not being related to Rey, just being there because he's inherently evil. I think that's kind of all you need to know about Palpatine. He's pretty much a one-note villain as it is. Right. But I mean, like, I get what they went for. It's not like the worst decision they've ever made in Star Wars, but it just doesn't really work for me. Because unlike I think what you just said, I think the cool thing about her storyline up until this movie was she's not entirely sure what her lineage is, and she, the Force awakens inside of her, and she's trying to find out if she plays a bigger part in this galaxy. And then the way I interpreted The Last Jedi is you find out that she's not related to anybody, but that doesn't make you any less important to the galaxy. You know what I mean? So it's like Kylo Ren tells her, like, you come from nobody, you're nothing, but not to me. You know what I mean? So it's like, you can make your own way in the same way that Finn has to make his own way in the galaxy and, all that kind of stuff. So having them double back on it to make her related to Palpatine, to, tie up loose ends for the people that complained that she was too powerful in The Force Awakens for no reason, is kind of how I interpreted it. It's like, oh, if we make her related to Palpatine, it justifies why she was able to beat Kylo Ren on Starkiller Base. I don't know. It just didn't work for me as well, but it's not the worst decision. Jar Jar.
Oh yeah. There's many worse things in the Star Wars universe, but John, before we go on, can you give me a theme song for Conspiracy Corner, a new segment on Radiovania?
Conspiracy Corner. Like a jingle?
Yeah, give me a jingle.
Oh boy. I'm coming up empty. Maybe next episode.
Okay. Well, this week on Conspiracy Corner, apparently, take this with a fucking huge ass grain of salt, but Colin Trevorrow's version of the Star Wars script has partially leaked online.
Oh yeah, I read it.
Yeah, and one of the things that they talk about in which Trevorrow's episode 9, his draft, the draft that is leaked was finished in December 2016. Was when this draft was completed.
During the filming of The Last Jedi.
Yeah, a week before the passing of Carrie Fisher. Mm-hmm. And one of the big things in his script that differs is that Rey's parents were nobody, but the twist was going to be that Kylo Ren killed her parents. Uh-huh. And I kind of don't like that.
Really? I like it.
No, I don't like that.
You tell me why he killed him.
Yeah, I guess. But I think my favorite thing, as most people will say about this sequel trilogy, is the relationship between Kylo Ren and Rey. And I think that the tension between the two of them, that's like, there's a little bit of sexual tension. There's a little bit of, there's a lot of emotional tension between the two of them. And I think that him just turning right around and being just bad and murdering her parents and still having that connection, I think it's just complicated. And I don't know how to feel about that.
Mm.
But
we'll
obviously
never know.
This was never made. Yes.
Yep. So it doesn't matter.
All right. What's your next thumbs up, thumbs down?
Next thumbs up, thumbs down. The redemption of Ben Solo and how it was handled.
Okay. I think you're asking a two-part question. Redemption of Ben Solo, in theory, thumbs up.
Yes.
How it was handled. I definitely think that they rushed some elements, and I would have liked to have seen. Honestly, I would have liked for an extra 15 to 20 more minutes just focused on Kylo Ren.
Me too. I think he wasn't in enough for this movie.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
He's like a looming force that's always in the background, but
he doesn't speak in the third act, and that really bothers me.
I think though that he does say "ow." Academy
really
Award
well. Yeah, really well.
He says "ow" very well. Mm-hmm. But I think that the payoff to me visually of the force object transference, or however we're going to call whatever force power we're calling that. Yeah. As people on Twitter are now dubbing it the hashtag Ben Solo challenge, where you pull something out from behind your back and then shrug. I think that visual was so hype for me that I was like, I got a lot of the message that they were trying to convey about his redemption through visual. And, as we talked about with Watchmen, I like it when movies don't treat you like an idiot and have to spell everything out with dialogue. I like that a lot of Ben Solo's redemption is what he does, not necessarily saying what he's going to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's fair.
So, in that aspect, thumbs up. But yes, I would have gone for more Ben Solo in this film, 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think he's probably the best character of the new movies.
Agreed.
What was my next question going to be? Hold on. Oh,
Babu Freak, thumbs up.
No. Yeah, sure. Babu Freak, thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Down. I'm good with it.
It is ready.
All right, here we go. Great. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Kylo and Rey kissing.
Controversial, but I'm gonna go thumbs up.
Oh my god.
Because, like I said before, one of the things that I thought was one of the things that Rian Johnson did that I really liked was giving Rey and Kylo this weird, like, sexual romantic attraction where it's like that adds to me of the ambiguity of Rey being, compelled to join the dark side, because there's like something about the two of them that they're linked together, whether that be through the Emperor or whatever, but
dyads.
They are linked together. And I really liked that, they had this like blossoming, it's like, I don't know. I'm drawing a blank on like old Shakespeare plays, but wasn't there? It's like the Montagues and the Capulets. You know what I'm saying? It's like one side's in love with the other side, and they can't really do much about it. But it's like that. It's like forbidden love, And so Kylo having one moment of happiness before he officially passes into the Force, and I thought it was fine. Certainly more than Finn and Rose kissing.
Sure, but I think he also could have just brought her back to life and had his moment of happiness where he smiles and then dies. I think the kiss was extremely awkward. I didn't like it. I mean, those two are both really good actors, and their chemistry is incredible in these movies. But that payoff, I think, is I don't really like it that much. That seemed like they were trying to feed the internet for all the Reylo shippers out there.
Reylo shippers. That's the most woke thing you've said.
Thank you. I listen to the children. Okay, we're gonna rapid fire. So just do thumbs up, thumbs down, but no explanations for them. Ready?
But I'm gonna put my foot in my mouth.
No. Just the first thing that pops in your head. Thumbs up, thumbs down, and then we go to the next one. Okay, you ready? Hux being the spy.
Thumbs down.
Sorry, I can't stop laughing. It's so funny. Usage of C-3PO.
Wait, you're not going to give yours?
Oh, sorry. I'm thumbs down on it too.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Thumbs down on it. Usage of C-3PO.
Thumbs way up.
Yep, I agree. Thumbs up all the way. The space battle.
Thumbs down.
Yeah, I don't think it was as epic as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I think that again. Sorry, I'm expounding, but
That's fine.
in the same year that we also had Endgame, where we have the portal scene and Avengers Assemble, they basically tried to recreate that exact same feeling in this, and it wasn't there. I was much more excited about what was happening with Rey and Palpatine and with like our characters. I wasn't necessarily super thrilled that just random ships showed up.
It's
like,
just
that
people.
just didn't do it. Yeah, it's just people.
I liked that aspect of it. I liked the
just
concept. People line.
Yeah.
Lando covers Ian.
I'm gonna have to unfortunately say thumbs to the side.
I was wondering how you were gonna feel about him. This is your boy.
Yeah, no, I'm a huge Lando fan. I love Billy D. Williams. It was thumbs up for him just being here and like bookending this trilogy. He's in Return of the Jedi and now he's in Rise of Skywalker. I think that it's great to have him there. He adds a certain presence.
It's like a warm blanket covered in Colt 45.
That's a sticky blanket. I just unfortunately wish that he would have had a more intrinsic addition to the plot other than him just being the guy that radios out to the other ships. Like that to me was just a little weak sauce.
I thought it was interesting. I kind of like it actually. And here's why. I'm going to expound on it. I'm breaking my own rule. I think it's interesting. I think if you're like, all right, Chewbacca has to take one person around the galaxy to convince the most amount of people to help defeat the Empire. Who is the most persuasive and charismatic person in Star Wars?
Sure.
I think it's Lando. You know what I mean, right?
No question.
Like, there's no way
question.
that Lando didn't just fly around with Chewie for like a couple hours before the battle and like call up all of his ex-lovers. Just be like, I'm calling in a favor. Like that's how I interpreted it. Is it's like he's like the most likable person, right? Because I mean,
right.
Not only is he really charming, but he's also really cunning. He's made a lot of deals. You see that in Solo a lot with Childish Gambino's take on the character too. So I think that made sense to me. I was kind of fine with that part, but I do agree it seemed like a carbon copy of Endgame. But yeah, nothing really new, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Exactly. Yeah. That's how I feel.
The ending, Rey Skywalker, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Thumbs up.
Okay. I'm thumbs up too. I'm cool with it. Ben and Han Solo.
Thumbs way up. In fact, I'm going to break the law. 2 thumbs way up. I'm going to break your law again. Okay. The second time I saw it with a couple friends of mine from work, and I was so anticipating that scene again because, like, the first time we saw it at Gateway. Bless up, God bless Gateway. Mm-hmm. And that was the moment in the movie where I literally had tears in my eyes, and like I had to clench my fists a little bit to stop myself from like actually like weeping. And just because I loved the callback to episode 7, and I just love that scene so much. And so the second time I was so excited to see that scene again. And right before that scene happens is they come back from space, and it's when they find out that Leia's dead and like Chewie screams and everything like that, it's just all gut wrenching. Like this 5 minutes of the film is like so emotional.
Mm-hmm. It's the best emotional part. Yeah.
Yes. And right before this happened, one of my friends that was seeing the movie with me decided that this was the best time for him to go to the bathroom.
Oh no.
And so he stood up not knowing what was happening. This is the first time he had seen it. And so he stood up to go to the bathroom, and I didn't realize what was happening because like I'd only seen it once before, so I didn't realize this was the moment. And when he was down, he was already down the stairs, and I wanted to call out like, Ben! And I wanted to like force communicate to him to like stop right now. And I felt so bad because literally as soon as he was done going to the bathroom and came back into the theater was right when Kylo throws the lightsaber. And he leaned over to me and he was like, "What did I miss?" And I just couldn't stop laughing. I laughed right in his face and I felt so bad, but I was just like, dude, you missed the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
So sorry, Dylan.
That's rough. That's it. No further questions, Your Honor.
No further questions. The court rests its case.
The court rests its case. Yep.
And how do you find the defendant, Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, in being good?
Guilty.
I can't tell what you mean by that because you said it with such contempt in your voice.
Well, I was trying to think, like you said, how do you find it in terms of being good? So if I say it's guilty, that means it's good. If I say it's innocent, that means it's not good, right?
Right. You got it right.
Okay.
Nailed it.
So I was thinking.
It was just the comedic timing on that couldn't have been better.
Yeah, and I think there's nothing else to say.
Yeah. No, I think to sum up my thoughts, I think that I thoroughly enjoyed it. My favorite part about the movie is that it felt like it didn't take itself super seriously throughout the whole thing, where, you know, it let the movie have fun with the original characters all together. Like that was really the best thing about it, was that it's fun, snappy J.J. Abrams dialogue with these characters that we really like, seeing them work and play off of each other and, you know, stick together for a majority of it. And it really does feel like an old 80s sci-fi action adventure film for most of it. Like you're going to different planets, you're fighting little packs of people, like you're on a starship now you're flying through space, you got to outsmart these people. I was thoroughly entertained throughout the whole thing, and so
it felt like a Star Wars movie. It felt like a fun Star Wars movie. Which is a paradigm shift from The Last Jedi, which did not feel like a traditional Star Wars movie, even though I do like it as a movie. And I think that I do think that there's a lot of negativity about this movie out there, and I do think you just need to go in and enjoy it for what it is. The fact that Star Wars fans treat these as if they are, you know, life or death critically acclaimed movies is comical, because they're ridiculous.
The sirens are on my end, everybody out there listening.
Oh, yeah.
Just
they're
like you guys know.
Yeah, they're ridiculous.
Right up in a ditch.
Yeah. Star Wars is a ridiculous space opera. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's a story about a farm boy who hangs out with a criminal and his dog. You know what I mean? So it's like,
yep.
They're fun, whimsical. They write up the explanations for how they're able to do things as they go. They always have. If you think about how the Force works, the reason that's the best part of The Force Awakens is that's not how the Force works joke can be used all the time. So I think overall it's an enjoyable thing. The trilogy is enjoyable, I think, as a whole. However, I don't think it links together as a whole very well in some way. I think if you had to compare 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 7, 8, 9 as their own separate trilogies, this one is linked together the least out of those three. But I think those movies on their own are still all really enjoyable and pretty well crafted in terms of visual spectacle and action set pieces and stuff. I mean, they are made by Star Wars fans, which is the generation that we're in now. All the Star Wars movies going forward are no longer going to be made by the guy who created it. So
yeah,
if you don't like nostalgia, then you might not want to see the next couple Star Wars movies, because I think a lot of them will rely on that, you know?
Yeah.
Just watch The Mandalorian episode 5 and you'll see.
But even The Mandalorian hangs on some nostalgia stuff too. Like just the fact that he's a Mandalorian is nostalgia.
The fact that he has the holiday special rifle and
Yep. But yeah, I agree with you 120,000%. I think the biggest negative of the sequel trilogy has been the fact that it's very clear that there was no cohesive vision from the start. They started something and didn't know where they wanted to go with it, and they gave their second movie the quote unquote, the Empire, the middle chapter, the Two Towers, the whatever you want to call it. They give their middle movie in the trilogy to a newish director, let him write and direct it, and he took it in a very different direction. And then JJ came back to there was a lot of course correcting in Rise of Skywalker. And I'm surprised those weren't part of your thumbs up or thumbs down questions, like how they handled the Last Jedi stuff, because in my opinion, I think they handled a lot of it interestingly. And I think honestly, the Rise of Skywalker has increased my enjoyment of Last Jedi going forward, because I really liked how they played with some of the things that Rian Johnson introduced, but really they were just, it feels like no one knew what they wanted, and they were just kind of like playing reaction. They were like, we'll figure it out when we get there. Like, that's a problem for future me, when they were dealing with these movies. And so I'm interested. I think Bob Iger has said over and over that Star Wars is going to take a hiatus after this, like aside from the TV shows. Like, I think Star Wars as a film property is going to take a bit of a breather while they refigure out what they want to do with it. But I really hope that they learn from some of the mistakes and that they made with this new trilogy, and maybe we can get something wholly new and original that still feels like Star Wars. And I was thinking about this while I was playing Fallen Order. I was like, this would make a good movie.
Yeah, it would.
Like,
it really would.
This would make an interesting concept and an interesting story that could maybe span a trilogy of films. But I don't know. I don't know where Star Wars is going next, and I'm interested. I'm excited. I'm a little bit skeptical, but personally, I thoroughly enjoyed Rise of Skywalker and this trilogy, and yeah. Anyone out there that says it's worse than the prequels, you're smoking crack.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely smoking crack. Shout out to Michael Richard. You're smoking crack. The Last Jedi is not a great film, but it is no way, shape, or form worse than any of the prequels.
Yeah, I agree. The prequels are fun, though.
Yes, they're fun to make fun.
If you want to laugh and have a good time,
oh yeah,
those movies are utterly entertaining for that purpose. So,
if they ever re-release the prequels in theater and do like a marathon, I think we should go and like live cast it.
Nice. I'm in.
I think that's a great idea.
The most I've ever laughed in a movie, this is a true story, the most I've ever laughed in a movie was when I'm laughing thinking about it now, was when I went and saw The Phantom Menace 3D with Austin James. Because when you see that movie 3D and Austin James is the guy you're sitting next to, that movie is the best comedy of all time.
Oh man, that makes me wish that I could go back and be in that theater.
Oh my goodness, because Austin's got that little he's got like that little Seth Rogen chuckle, but like higher pitched, and like the first couple lines in the movie, I think as soon as Newt Gunray comes up and he's like, oh, we will never do anything without the and then Austin James just could not keep it together. Yeah,
God bless that child.
It was a good time.
Come back on the show, Austin. We miss you.
Yeah. So I think the next thing we have to do sometime, and we talk about it a lot, so I don't know if we should wait for a long time to do this, but we should do a Skywalker Saga retrospective.
I would like to do that very much.
Yeah.
Sounds like a fun time.
So we can gush about Empire.
We can gush about Empire. We can shit on Attack of the Clones, and we can give our official Radiovania rankings of the Star Wars.
That's what I want to do. Yep. I would love to do that.
That would be great. But I think that's all the time we have for today. Is that right, John?
Yeah, we do.
It's been a beefy show. Thank you all for listening. I'm so glad that we finally got to do this. Hopefully, I think I can speak for the both of us now that we know what we're doing in the tech world, and after I edit this, and hopefully it sounds okay, that going forward we can maybe put out some more Radiovania for y'all, because I miss it.
Yeah, me too. And it'd be nice to do a regular, once every now and then, hopefully more consistently, being able to do these calls and stuff like that. That'd be great.
Yeah. But yeah, follow us at Radiovania on all the social medias. Follow me at Zach Rotello. And if you have any questions, comments, and concerns, email radiovaniashow@gmail.com. Connor, I would love some more fan mail. It's been a minute. Yeah, thank you for being on the show, John.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll talk to you soon, buddy. And you, the listeners.